All right, so today we're looking at lesson 11, and as you can see at the top, you might already have noticed, I am starting from the end, simply to allow you, the learner, to have a visual interpretation of what is going on with the program. So let's say that life is a program. In a way, it can be, but if we have you go through your life, your timeline, and you're constantly being asked questions. So like, if age 5 in September, then you can go to kindergarten. If that's true, then you go to kindergarten. If it's false, then you got to continue on until, are you 5 or older in September? On September 1st? True, then you go to kindergarten. Okay, and you just keep on doing that basically through life. Is 5th grade finished? No. Then you do 5th grade or the next grade level. Is 5th grade finished? Then yes, you go to middle school. And so on and so forth. So what we're looking at right now is a computer program. As you know, it starts from top and it goes down. And it just does this. And then we have an if statement. It's called a Boolean. Ask the user how old they are. Is the age 18 or older? No. Sorry, you can't vote. Continue with the next line, keep doing that, and run the program again, if it's in a draw loop anyway. Is the age 18 or older? Yes. Then you can vote, and we keep running the program, and everything fits into that. Everything is dependent upon that 18 or older, the Boolean statement, yes or no. True is yes, false is no. So that's how these work at this point in time. So this if statement is the blue thing, the blue loop, and if 16, check to see if they did driver's ed. If 16 and done with driver's ed, have they had 1 year of driving? If 16 and driver's ed and 1 year of driving, then they can get their driver's license, assuming they pass their test. So that's how that works at this point. Now we're going to go to phase 1, lesson overview. So now you're going to be looking at a bunch of different code. Boolean expression, programming an expression that evaluates true or false. If statement, the common programming structure that implements conditional statements. So one conditional that might be happening in your life right now is, at least it is with my own children, is this child, am I done with all my work in the best of my ability? Yes, then you can play video games. If no, then you are going to continue working. Continue. All right, Boolean expressions. So we're going to run. We're going to see what this says. Decision making on computers are based on statements called Boolean expressions, an expression that can only be evaluated by either true or false. There is no, what is 2 plus 2? Nope. It's 2 plus 2 equals 4. That's either true or false. Predict. So, which result will be printed by the console? Let's see what it says. So, sprite 1y, xy, is equal to sprite 2y. So sprite 1y is 200. Sprite 2y is 200. So yes, that's exactly equal to sprite 1x. So this one is true because sprite 1y is equal to sprite 2y. See how they're both equal? This one, sprite 1x is greater than sprite 2x. Sprite 1x greater than sprite 2x. Sprite 1x is 100. Sprite 2x is 300. So that one's going to be false. So we have true here, False here because sprite1x is less than. And remember, we're just evaluating true or false. Now, console log sprite1x is less than sprite2y. Sprite1x is 100. Sprite2y is 200. So that's going to be true because sprite1x is 100 and 100 is less than 200. So that's why we chose up here true, false, true. That's how the answers go. We run it, and look, right here it says true, false, true. How nice is that? So in part 3, you should think about these questions. What is a Boolean expression? What is an expression that would evaluate to true, and what's an expression that would evaluate false? We've talked about that briefly, but make sure that you watch this video and think about those things. All right, part 4, Boolean expressions. The simplest Boolean expressions are questions that a computer can answer with true or false. Another way to say this is that Boolean expressions evaluate true or false. Do this. Can you modify the values of the sprite properties so that each Boolean expression evaluates true? You read through the entire program for sprites 1 and 2. For each of the Boolean expressions, identify the sprite properties being compared. Change the code in the first 11 lines only. Okay? You don't get to change the Boolean expressions, only the first 11 lines, 1 through 11. Those are the only things you can change. Okay, so 1, let's run this. Okay, everything says false right now. 1 through 5 say false. So we have to change up here. So console log sprite2x got to be equal to sprite2y. Sprite2x and y should be the same. Sprite2, here's where our x is, here's where our y is. We've got to make sure those are the same because it says equal to. Okay, then, so up here, between lines 1 and 11, how do we make sprite 1 and 2, or sprite 2, x and y the same? Okay, next, sprite 2 rotation has got to be less than 40. Sprite 2 rotation right now is 60. So you're going to change these lines up here. All right, and remember this, you can look at these in the future and look and see how all of this is written. Okay, now make sure that you don't change anything down here, only up here. I'm going to move on. All right, so now your job is the dog sprite rotation less than the cat sprite's rotation? Dog rotation less than the cat rotation. That's going to go right there. Okay, and you're going to finish that. Is the dog sprite's x less than the cat sprite's x? Dog x less than cat x. Dog x is less than cat x. All right, so you're going to have to finish that. I'm going to move on because I need to, you make sure you finish that though. All right, so right here, the program draws a race car and a finish line. We are going to figure out how and when the race car crosses the finish line. The sprites have all been set up for you. Okay, so do this. Add a console log. What? It started. Start over. For some reason, so you're going to add a console log, add a Boolean expression, there we go. Add a Boolean expression, inside the console log that asks, is the x position of the race car less than the x position of the finish line? And then look at the output of the program as the car moves. When does the output change and why? So we're going to run this. This should be race car. Okay. I did ask for it to start over. All right. Race car x equals race car dot x minus 2. Run. There we go. Okay, right now, there's no message. It's going to say a message later. Right now, we just have console message. Don't be afraid to look back and try and figure that out. Look back at number 5 or number 4. You can take a picture of it and help you kind of look at what it's going to be. So message plus, okay. So number 6, race car. All right, we're just going to put in a console message that says, race car dot x is less than 40. Okay, why did I get 40? Well, because right here, the finish line starts at 40. So run that. Right now it just says false, false, false. So I put in those quotation marks for your sake. You don't want the quotation marks in there, but you're just asking a simple question. Race car X, is it less than 40? And now it is. See how it said true? I'm going to say that, show that one more time. False, 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 true. So then race car became less than 40. Okay, now we have a fruit. Okay, you're going to add a console log statement, and you're just going to check an expression, fruit scale greater than 2. So right here, run it, the fruit gets bigger, and you're just going to do a simple console log, and you say, is the fruit scale greater than 2? Give that a try. All right, so I changed so here we're just trying to add a console log statement, add a Boolean expression inside the console log that checks whether the fruit scale is greater than 2. So we run this. I put in a console log, fruit.scale greater than 2. It's basically a question. False, 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 and then true. Okay. continue. All right. Make sure to read over this. Pause. Go ahead and pause now so you can look at it. Talks about equal expressions. I know you think you've seen all this before, but make sure you read it. All right. Question to consider: conditional statements. This looks back at the race car statement. Follow this. Add an if statement after you update the position of the car. So an if statement is in here. You're going to be seriously like, and it says move the Boolean expression from the console log statement to the if. The console log. Just take this and move it. It's that simple. Okay? Get rid of this console log now. And then it says, inside the if statement, add a statement to draw text on the screen to say winner. How do you do that? It goes in drawing, text, put it in there. All right. And then finally, it all boils down to number 11 and making sure you can make your apple turn into a pear. Okay? Fruit scale is greater than 2. If it is, change the fruit animation to pear. All right? And then an added challenge. Can you also make the fruit stop growing once it turns into a pear? You really only add a total of 4 lines of code. And remember, just put in an if statement and move this, and then get rid of the console log. And then it just all depends on what you put in to that if statement, that conditional. So remember that conditionals happen only when the right conditions are happening. So you only get to use your phone, or you only get to get a phone if you do really well in school. And if you continue to use it appropriately, you get to keep it. So much of life can be based on a series of conditional statements or if statements. Doesn't mean we're necessarily computer programs, but I think you can see what I'm getting at. So enjoy, and my best of luck. Don't forget, you can always check out, if you're having any problems, see Mr. Gatsos or myself during our office hours.